Today on Public Eye News, Cleveland Cliffs is merging with AK Steel, and there's a two-car accident in Marquette County.
Later in the show, Dana Singstock will have your weather, and Caleb Rydell will be back with your sports. Hi, I'm Ross Ray.
And I'm Caleb Rydell. Welcome to Public Eye News. The Upper Peninsula is known for its coal mining and timber industries, but an NMU history professor and alumnus of the school decided to collaborate on a book exploring UP's apple culture. Finding the occasional tree scattered throughout the UP, Russ Maganine decided to look into the history of apples in the Upper Peninsula and see how an apple industry would fare in the area. Maganine worked with David Smith on a book called Apple Culture in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and Wisconsin border as an exploratory topic. In doing their research, they found that in the past there were several farms that had small apple trees and bushels throughout the counties in the UP. After several years of the research, the duo has published their book back in fall. And the oldest and largest independent producer of iron ore pellets in the U.S., Cleveland Cliffs, is expanding their business in a $1.1 billion merger with AK Steel, and an Ohio-based steel manufacturer. Cleveland Cliffs said they are excited to expand and add AK Steel resources to their own and laying out how new stocks will work with the new combined company. The company is excited for this opportunity that will positively impact shareholders and lead to more profitability. Not giving specifics on how this will affect jobs in the area, but Cleveland Cliffs seems confident using the words growth and potentially encompass jobs and current workers. Tuesday's press conference seems only positive, which may be a good sign for the Great Lakes area.
On Monday evening, a two-vehicle crash occurred, sending a person to the hospital. A 21-year-old Illinois woman failed to yield to northbound traffic on County Road HQ, leading to a collision with a 24-year-old Mohawk man and a 19-year-old Marquette woman. The 19-year-old sustained minor injuries in the crash and was transferred to UP Health Systems Marquette for minor injuries. And according to scientists, the gray wolves being relocated to Isle Royale National Park are adjusting nicely to the new surroundings and finding plenty of prey. Over the past 2 years, plans have been set up to restore the wolf population to Isle Royale as the population decreased due to inbreeding. Plans call for moving 20 to 30 wolves to Isle Royale.
In Santa Paula on Sunday, in a burning home was a mother and her 3-year-old son who had a bag over his head. Santa Paula police said that 47-year-old Mersala Maganan Ruse placed a plastic bag over her son's head and tied his hands together while their home was on fire. Firefighters found Ruiz tied to the bed of a different room than the boy, and the two were brought to the hospital to be treated for smoke inhalation. The authorities believe the house was set on fire on purpose and are still investigating the fire, but have no other suspects at this time. Ruiz is being held on a $50,000 bail for suspicion of felony child endangerment. And Elon Musk is facing a court trial after claims of defamation over tweets from back in 2018 while youth soccer players in Thailand were trapped in the underwater cave. Musk was building a tiny submarine that was used to get the boys out, but when a British diver criticized Musk's submarine, Musk tweeted about the diver referring to him as, quote, pedo guy, unquote, and a tweet in response saying that, quote, bet you a signed dollar it's true, unquote. Musk is now having to defend himself over these tweets, especially after more of the things he had said about the diver without any evidence for his claims. This is not the first time Musk has been in court over tweets after a settlement Musk had with the SEC over $40 million over misleading tweets that affected his investors. Elon had been called to court for the defamation of trial today. And after the break, we'll be back with your national and international news. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Peter Yarrow announcing a new Peter, Paul and Mary Pledge Special, filmed at the 1963 through 65 folk festivals at Newport, Rhode Island. It features 18 never-before-released performances during the most dynamic period of our careers. For thousands of young people, folk music had become the soundtrack of their new advocacies and aspirations.
Tonight at 8 and tomorrow afternoon at 2:30.
And welcome back. For the first time on Tuesday, Iran acknowledged that security forces shot and killed protesters across the country to put down demonstrations last month over the sharply spiking price in gasoline. While Iranian state television sought to portray the protesters as dangerous rioters, the online videos of demonstrations disproved the statement, showing security forces firing machine guns and rifles at crowds, killing at least 208 people. The demonstrations in Iran have been happening since May 2018, when President Donald Trump imposed crushing sanctions after withdrawing the United States from the nuclear deal. And another news about President Trump. President Trump's in London for a two-day NATO summit. He is wasting no time in launching attacks on a key European ally. Cindy Palm reports from London.
President Trump met with French President Emmanuel Macron just hours after attacking the European ally at the start of a two-day NATO summit in London.
You just can't go around making statements like that.
Mr. Trump called President Macron's recent comments about NATO very nasty. The French leader said NATO is brain dead because of a lack of U.S. leadership.
When France makes a statement like they made about NATO, it's a very dangerous statement for them to make.
During a Q&A with the media, President Trump poked fun at Macron after he gave a long answer to whether France should do more to take ISIS fighters captured in the Middle East.
This is why he's a great politician, because that was one of the greatest non-answers I've ever heard, and that's okay.
While the president defended NATO from criticism by the French president, Mr. Trump unloaded on members of the alliance for not contributing enough in defense spending.
It's not right to be taken advantage of on NATO, and also then to be taken advantage of on trade, and that's what happens, and we can't let that happen.
With President Trump back in London, so are the protesters. They're moving from Trafalgar Square here in the center of the city to Buckingham Palace, where the Queen is hosting a reception for NATO leaders.
He's encouraging divisions internationally by pulling out of treaties, by insulting other world leaders.
As the UK heads into a general election next week, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned President Trump not to interfere.
I stay out of it. I think Boris is very capable, and I think he'll do a good job.
The president has his own political battle back home, with Democrats holding impeachment hearings aimed at possibly removing him from office. Cindy Palm, CBS News, London.
The Philippines faces strong winds and rain today as Typhoon Kamiri is making its way across the area. The typhoon has forced hundreds of thousands of villagers to leave the area and get to safety. And with early evacuation efforts, the death toll for the area is only at 4 people so far. As unfortunate as the deaths were, officials say that the 81-mile-per-hour sustained winds and 128-mile-per-hour gusts have been ripping off roofs and trees. And without the early evacuations, the death toll would have been much higher. As the typhoon blew into the South China Sea, it weakened slightly, but it's still extremely dangerous. The area is in a natural disaster-prone area with nearly 20 typhoons a year and volcanic activity across the country. Currently, the country is still experiencing the typhoon without word of when it might end. And the McCadenville Light Festival is drawing thousands of visitors this year. Ron Lee is in North Carolina joining the celebration.
I've never in my life seen anything like this. It is absolutely amazing.
But before you see these lights, you have to contend with these lights. Cars as far as the eye can see. This is the 64th annual McCadenville Christmas Light Show, where neighbors and businesses try to outdo each other every year on who can put up the most amazing display. Thousands came from all over the Carolinas to see what new lights were up this year. Kids popping out of sunroofs, and some even showed up in a party truck trying to get the best view.
We're gonna make this a tradition. This is awesome. Look around, this is great.
Many of the homes were a real hit with visitors.
Everything's joyful, the lights and everything.
Some may have missed the mark.
That house looked like the Addams Family.
From tip to toe, just about every inch that could be covered in lights was. The finer the detail, the more enjoyed by spectators. Homeowners tell me they have a friendly little contest to see who has the nicest home at the end of the season. Whoever wins gets a major award. Hopefully, not that one.
It's really nice here.
And of course, just around the corner from Believe Lane, the big man himself drew the most attention from kids trying to sneak a present under the radar from mom and dad, and from Santa himself to all the good little children.
Merry Christmas and keep it up.
And after the break, we'll be back with your weather and sports. Stay tuned.
Is anybody confused about what to eat? Raise your hand. I want to take you through a typical day of what I eat and show you how simple and straightforward this approach can be. It's not about some future health goal, but about how you feel and how you look right now. See how quickly you feel better and lose weight. And answering the question, what the heck should I eat?
Wednesday night at 9 on WNMU TV.
Hello, welcome back to Public Eye News. My name is Dana Senstock and I have your weather report for today. Current conditions are mostly cloudy, temperature of 29, winds west-southwest at 6 miles per hour with a pressure of 29.55 and falling. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 27, winds west 6 miles per hour. And tonight will be partly cloudy, 33 degrees, and winds northwest 19 miles per hour. Current conditions at Sault Ste. Marie, we have a 32, Manistee is a 32, Escanaba is a 30, and Menominee is a 31. Iron Mountain, 30, and Ironwood at 29. Houghton is at 28, and Marquette is at 29. Looking ahead, we have Thursday for a high of 31, low of 21, and a condition of snow. Friday, a high of 25, low of 16, and partly cloudy. Saturday, a high of 33, low of 30, and mostly cloudy. Hi, looks like everything's clearing up weather-wise. How about for the Wildcats?
Yes, things are not going super well, Dana. Thank you. Now that we're back from break, we can take a look at Northern Michigan University's hockey fall from grace. The Wildcats had found their groove on the ice when they had a 6-game win streak that stopped in the second game against St. Cloud. The Wildcats went on to win the next game against Alaska Fairbanks, but the second game against them marked the beginning of a loss streak for the Cats. Following that loss, the Thanksgiving break started. NMU couldn't keep up with their rival, Michigan Tech, and lost both games against them. Then last weekend, taking on Alabama Huntsville, a team that the Cats had already beaten earlier in the season with ease, but the Cats had lost their momentum and lost to the current 10th ranked team. The Cats came back in the second game and took their first win in 5 games, which hopefully marks NMU coming back to grab another win streak, but only time will tell. The Cats are back at the Barry Friday to take on the almost undefeated Minnesota State Mavericks. And speaking of the Cats not doing so hot this year, NMU's basketball teams are off to a rough start. Starting less than a month ago, the men's record stands at 3 losses, 3 wins, while the women's team is currently standing at 4 losses and 3 wins, having won only their first game and only 2 games that have been at home so far. The women's team took on the #1 Drury team on Saturday and lost 72-44, and the men's team also lost their Saturday game against Alaska Anchorage 84-76. It's still early in the season, but it is not a great start. Both teams are back home Thursday for a game against Northwood. And the dynasty that is the Patriots is looking good this year, as always, with a 10-win to 2-loss record. To no one's surprise, the Patriots have locked down their offense with Brady leading the field, but they seem to be lacking in the kicker department, seeking their 5th kicker for the season so far. Sunday's loss to the Texans had them losing their 4th kicker when Kai Forbath missed an extra point attempt and converted a lone field goal and another extra point. The Patriots have no other active kickers at this time, so they will be searching for another, hopefully, before this weekend's game. Well, having a bunch of traditions, obviously watching the Lions game, a holiday tradition, but I hear there's another holiday tradition you got for me, Ross.
There is indeed. As we here at Public Eye News start to get festive for the holidays, residents of Macomb, Mississippi are getting festive with their protests. Residents of Macomb's Edgewood neighborhood have topped a large pothole in its yellow traffic cone in tinsel, spray-painted pine cones, white leaves, and holly berries in an effort to draw the city's attention to filling the hole. It's unclear how long the pothole has gone unattended by the city, but residents plan to add lights and presents as the season continues. And that's all the time we have for today for Public Eye News. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for some more.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.